here, and welcome to episode number 14 of Welcome to the Machine. And tonight we have, I know you're the youngest person so far, and his name is Jesse K. But man, he's full of energy, and at 16 years young, he's already launched his own podcast that is really all about Generation Z. And hey, Jesse, what's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Super excited to be here and get this going. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and you and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago, and it was fascinating just to hear your perspective on business and entrepreneurship. And obviously, I mean, we're not going to say that you're an expert, but at a very young age, you got the bug.
Yeah, for sure. 100% got the bug ever since I was a little kid. I was lucky enough to have my dad be an entrepreneur, so that had a huge impact on my life growing up. Sort of distilled that in me, seeing everything that goes into being an entrepreneur, but also the reward that comes out. So ever since I was like 9 years old, I started flipping shoes on eBay, like we discussed, made a couple $1,000s in middle school. So that was sort of just my background, but you could definitely say I had the bug from a young age.
And I mean, you just from our conversations, and we were talking a little bit before the show, you were making as much money selling shoes on eBay as some people are making at their full-time job.
Yeah, I mean, what would basically happen is I'd buy some of the shoes for like $200, and then within 2 hours I could flip them for like $400 to $500 if they were that in demand, which is insane.
And that's crazy. And I even asked you about what should I do with a pair of my shoes.
Yeah.
And I think you told me, like, if you like them, keep them. But
yeah.
So, and then even prior to the show, and I think you said something fascinating is in today's world, starting a business, launching a business, making money is different. Like, I use the word different. And I think you said it's actually easy. Like, it's just, there's arbitrage opportunities out there everywhere. And can you tell me a little bit about what you were saying there? Because a lot of people think it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard and easy at the same time. You still need to have that same, sort of energy in you. You really want to go at it. But if you have that drive, then it's an easier opportunity. It's sort of there for you. I like to always say, as long as you have a laptop or a phone and Wi-Fi internet connection and maybe $10, you can do whatever you want. I've heard countless stories of people that had $200 in their bank account and went and created a multi-million or billion-dollar company. I mean, all you need is what we're on right now, an internet connection, and an idea and that drive, and you can take it as far as you want.
And how are you at 16 years old managing? I mean, like, why did you start up? What was your thought process behind the podcast? Like, where were you going with that?
So it's actually a funny story. The basic reason behind it is, like I said, I'm a junior in high school right now, and we have an entrepreneurship class, which I'm in, which is pretty awesome for our high school. And we had to come up with a product or service and write a business plan for it. So a lot of people in my class had amazing ideas and they were super creative, but they had no idea where to go with it. So they didn't know a good first step. They didn't know how to execute on it. So I did more research and realized a lot of kids are entrepreneurial or business-like, but once again, they have no idea where to start, don't know how to execute on their idea, etc. So with that, I came up with the idea to start my podcast, 20 Under 20s, which gets the lessons, stories, and experiences from some of the most successful entrepreneurs and leaders in the world in their 20s and below, along with some older mentor episodes, which I've been able to do to help educate and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs.
And is it, what have you found? What have you learned? I mean, you've had, I think, 10, 15 episodes so far, but you've spoken to some pretty influential people. What have you learned so far? And we're going to pull up your podcast or your website right here, Jesse.
Yeah, right there. You guys can see it. If you hit the episodes thing on the top right corner of the page as well, you'll see all the episodes with everyone. It's a whole list of, if it's 20under20s.com/episodes, or on the top right corner, there's an episodes page, but you can see everyone I've done an interview with. But yeah, for sure, it's been incredibly both exciting and humbling to be able to get in contact with some of these people I never would have imagined getting in touch with. Right now, I think at this point I've recorded like 20 or 30 episodes, probably 11, 12 are live, 13's going up tomorrow. But yeah, if you look at that list, it's without some of these people's help, like I always say the first 5 episodes, Connor Blakely, Ben Stern, Corey Levy, Mike Klum, and Shreyas were hands down the most important episodes in getting me started. Without them willing to go and be on the show, I 100% would not be where I am today. But as that's progressed, I've learned how to network correctly, and also I've learned how to cold email correctly. I think that's something I've become amazing at just from doing this process. And I mean, if you look at the list, I've gotten Caleb Maddox, who's incredible, Brandon Steiner, just awesome people I'm now in contact. I got some advice on a couple questions I had from Grant Cardone today. He emailed me a couple responses. Same with Mark Cuban. I got a response today on a couple pieces of advice. I'm going to have a meeting with Gary Vaynerchuk like we discussed, had the chance to talk to AJ. It's just crazy how I thought 6 months ago I would be meeting all these people. I would have thought, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way. But it just shows you if you really have that idea and that power and drive behind you, you can go out and do anything.
So because there's a lot of people that might be watching this or listening to this that are saying, okay, really, like, Mark Cuban's not going to talk to me. So they never take that first step.
Yeah.
And what was going through your head when you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go out there and do it.
Yeah, right there. You got the Facebook post. That is the advice I got from Mark Cuban this morning. So I asked him 2 questions, and he's like, yeah, I'll answer it. And boom, right there. Read as much as you can about business. Start small. My favorite quote right there is, build around something you could do by yourself so you can learn how business works. I think everyone's scared to get started somewhere. But if you can go and do that, you never know what's going to happen. Just get started with something you know you're okay at. And that's what I woke up this morning to. I'd sent that email, been communicating with him. And, I mean, anyone who doesn't believe it, we got the proof right there.
And from your interviews so far, because, I mean, you've had conversations with some people that you know, are relatively high-level thinkers. Is there anything that you could take away? Like, if you had to summarize, like, all 13 interviews, are there any patterns that you've seen? Because my guess is business is business. I don't care whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your teens. So my hypothesis is what you're about to say, I would say the same thing about 50-year-olds that are in business. So what have you taken away from your conversations with these young, successful people?
I've taken away a couple key points. I would say number one, they all got started when they wanted to. They didn't wait for the right time. That's something I always like to say. The stars are never going to align, and it's never going to be the perfect time to start. That's what everyone thinks. It's just going to be like, oh, yeah, in 2 months or whatever, it's going to be the perfect time and I can finally get going. That's never going to happen. I used to believe that too, and I sort of stalled on the podcast for a month. It didn't happen, clearly. And they're all like that. They all are like, go take action. Every single person I've asked, whether it's an NBA player, whether it's a huge entrepreneur, CEO, no matter what, they all say, go take your first step, whatever your dream is. So they all share that. Number two, they're never satisfied. They have a huge deal to VaynerMedia. They're like a $200 million a year company, and they are not satisfied. They're branching out into Vayner Sports. They're getting new clients. They're doing nonstop. They always want to keep hustling, and that's what I'd say are the 2 main things, that they're always continue to grind and they get going whenever they feel the urge, not when they wait for other people to approve of it.
Yeah, and I think that part about never being satisfied is both a gift and a curse.
Oh, 100%.
No matter what I'm doing, I'm always hard on myself, and there's always more. And, you know, some people are okay with whatever. You know, I had a conversation with a business associate one time, and they told me they were content. And I usually don't have a loss for words, but I didn't know what to say because I don't know what that means. Like, what do you?
Yeah, I don't know if I can curse on here, but being content with something is absolute bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Like,
it just doesn't make sense.
And what I told them is, I will be content when I can do whatever I want to do, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it with. So, meaning that if I don't want to take your phone call, I don't have to take your phone call. If I don't feel like getting up today, like it's just, I basically can do whatever I want. And then that's when I think I would be content then. I don't even know if that would even solve the problem.
I don't even know if you can be content. I don't even understand the concept of being content. It's a weird concept to try and understand.
Well, because to be content, it's almost like you assume that life as it is today, yeah, it's like, and I think I said that, if I'm content, I might as well die.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing more to do.
Learn nothing else to do.
Right, right. How at 16 did you realize this? Like, most 16-year-olds are out playing video games or something right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're sort of smushed, but you can't see, but I'm right here, right in between me, 2 laptops and Xbox right over there. So not that far off. But I haven't used that, and I can't even remember how long, months. But I would say it's a combo of, number one, surrounding myself with people who I want to aspire to. They always say the 5 people you surround yourself near are who you're going to become. And by surrounding myself with incredibly successful people who have been mentors to me, that's sort of given me that message that you can't just accept that. You need to keep pushing. And also I've realized that I think I have a lot more success further down the pathway. And I know that this is just the start, not the end. Mm-hmm. So I want to go to my full potential and continue driving until I get there.
Is that how, I mean, do you attack everything like that in your life? Pretty much like, I'm just going to give it my all. I mean,
pretty much. I mean, there's been some ups and downs in my life, but pretty much it's been like that. I mean, I've had, well, we could probably get into this later, but ADD, anxiety, panic, everything that every entrepreneur pretty much has. So, you know, at those points, it sort of pushed me down, but I think that built me up even more to this point where my strength and everything like that is higher than most people's are when they're 30.
Yeah. And there is a tremendous correlation between ADD or ADHD and entrepreneurship. And, you know, I truly believe, because I have it as well, but I believe it's a gift. It's like I call it my superpower. Like, I mean, I really believe I have a superpower.
I was literally about to say that the biggest change in my life came when I turned it from a disorder to a superpower, hands down. And also the fact that now me and my buddies call ADD or ADHD entrepreneur's disorder. That's what we call it now. It's like entrepreneur disease. That's what we call it. And you know what? Everyone has it. Everyone's like, oh, you got entrepreneur's disease? Literally, I think everyone at Next Gen Summit, the 500 people that were there, maybe 1% didn't have it. And that would be a long stretch.
What was that like? Like, what was Next Gen like? And actually, can you, because there are some people watching this that may not know what Next Gen Summit was, can you briefly describe that and what you experienced there?
Yeah. So first off, the Next Gen group had a huge impact on my life. Basically, the background on it was back in December, January. My first interview was with Connor Blakely, and he's been a huge mentor and friend with me the past couple months. Or I guess year. I don't even know how long it's been. But so he added me to this group called the Next Gen Summit, and it's, I think, a 3,000 member Facebook group. You have to like apply or whatever to get in. It's a decent process. They want to know why you're there, what you're doing. Run by Justin Lafazan, who goes to UPenn, and Dylan Gambardella, who goes to Duke. So 2 college kids. But the group is basically the most incredible, inspiring entrepreneurs, leaders, etc. Mostly under 25. So the people that are going to lead the next generation. So it's all filled with, you name it, YouTubers, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, people on Shark Tank. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I was in that Facebook group, and I've been super interactive in that. That's where I got probably my first 10 interviews easily, was just through everyone in Next Gen wants to give 10 times before they get once. Mm-hmm. So I put something in saying, here's what I'm doing. I just joined, blah, blah, blah. Within 20 minutes, I have 30 people saying they'd be willing to do it.
Wow.
And from there, I mean, I've been some of those people, even though I hadn't met them before this weekend, they'd become some of my closest friends just from talking nonstop. So this weekend was the summit, and I think it was 500 people. It was in New York City, and it was incredible. One of the best weekends of my life. I got to meet with all of the people I've been talking with for the past 6 to 8 months, actually meet them in person, hear incredible speakers, connect with awesome people I hadn't had the opportunity to meet in the Facebook group. And they just organized a great, huge shout out to Dylan and Justin. They did an amazing job, but that group has had an immense impact on my life.
And I got to ask this question as a parent myself, like, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to a conference in New York. I mean,
yeah, it's funny because if you go back, I don't know, 5 years ago, my dad was one of the most paranoid people you could ever be. He's like, He's like, so he was so nervous about everything. He's like, you're gonna go away for like 10 seconds. You're gonna like go on the slide or whatever. And I was a little kid. Like he was always freaking out. He had that same anxiety I have. So, but it's funny because I've started to sort of inch up. So like, I first off would like go to New York City for a day. So I'd take the train in, blah, 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 earlier a couple months ago. And eventually it's gotten to the point like my friend Connor Blakely came out from Ohio and he literally probably takes 2 flights a week. Wow. Like he's traveling all over the world, speaking, doing speaking engagements, doing consulting, everything. So I think that sort of had some sort of impact on them. But also I think I've gotten their trust. They know that I'm not going to do anything stupid. And I mean, it went from them being so overprotective of me to now me staying a night in New York, in Times Square on my own with my friend, which that took a decent amount of convincing.
Is that even legal? Like,
I don't even know if I was supposed to say that, but my mom came to check us in because we couldn't have done any other way. They check like IDs and stuff. So my mom came in and checked us into the hotel because we couldn't have done it any other way. So yeah, she came, she hung out with us, but then, yeah, it was me and my buddy, for Friday night, just us. And then Saturday night, my parents came into the city anyway. But yeah, I was completely on my own for the weekend. And that took a decent amount of convincing. And now I'm trying to get from here saying, let me go in New York City for the weekend to here, let me go to LA for a week. And I'm still working on that, but we'll see how that we'll see if that happens.
Wow.
But they're incredibly supportive.
That's amazing. Hey, we have some questions already, and this is surprising. So, you okay answering some questions, bud?
100%. Let's do it.
All right. So excited. I'll read it off to you. So this question is from Chance Claiborne and Jesse. What is it? What's the one thing that prompted you to this journey of self-development? And what point of pain was it, knowing it's usually a healthy pain that makes us come to these realizations? So what was there something that happened? Was there one thing that happened that prompted you to go on this journey of self-development? And was there any pain involved?
Number one, so much pain involved you don't even want to know. I'm laughing at it now, but back then with all the panic and anxiety I had, that's sort of when I hit rock bottom.
Well, talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hit rock bottom in 16 years, but of my 16 years, I hit rock bottom. But a little background on that whole story. So back when I was 9 years old, I went to sleepaway camp for the first time. And I was so excited. I'd done week sleepaway camps all the time. I didn't think any issue. I went, and the second I got off the bus, I was terrified. I started having a panic attack, and I'd never had one before. I thought I was having like a heart attack, and I was not. Like, what the hell? I'm not. I was like, I'm not 50. I'm not supposed to be having a heart attack. So I literally was up all night, like freaking crying as a 9-year-old. I was like, I want to run away from this camp, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, after nonstop terrible days, 6 days later, got picked up by my parents, and that was the start of anxiety, panic, separation anxiety. So I went to a couple doctors. It sort of went away. It was on and off. For me, it was whenever there was change is when it would come back on. So when I started middle school, for example, that was different than elementary school. You change classes, you do that. Even though it was across the street from my freaking elementary school, I freaked out for the first month. I was like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this. I would literally I'd wake up crying every single morning and have to walk up and down the hill with my parents 4 times to get myself prepared to go to school. And it was terrible. I literally would wake up crying, go to guidance. And there were days where I sat in the guidance office the entire day. Believe me, the secretaries at every school I've been to know me on a name basis. Before I need to give them all gifts because they see me that often. So I would literally sit there and they were like, I don't know what. So I went to more doctors, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually after the first month of 6th grade, the rest of middle school was a success. I mean, I was one of the most active people in the community, won all these awards, blah, blah, blah. So it was all about that change. And then going into high school, going into 9th grade, I was talking with my buddy and we were like, let's go on a teen tour where you go for 15 days or whatever, across the country or different areas. And I thought I was past it, to be honest. I thought I was past my anxiety. It's been 3 years. I've been awesome. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. And I sort of felt the anxiety coming leading up to it, but you don't want to say it. You sort of just hold it in, which I was stupid. I freaking should have said something. But get to the airport 5 a.m. and I have a complete meltdown. I was like, I can't do this. I'm about to go to freaking Oregon and I live in New Jersey. And I'm like, I cannot do this. Don't let me get on this plane. So my dad has to go tell everyone, like, he's freaking out. I got on the plane, but he was like, he's freaking out. Land, complete meltdown. It was 10 days of pretty much me not sleeping. It was supposed to be 17 days, and I was with, like, my best friend. And then I leave after 10 days. That was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, hands down, having my best friend there, having 50 other kids there, and getting picked up in, I don't even know, Vancouver or something. Like, my parents freaking flew. They're the best. They flew out to Vancouver, Canada, like a 6-hour flight to come pick me up and leave. And it was just like, that was probably when I hit, like, bottom. I got back. That's sort of when I got diagnosed with ADD. Also, I'd played football my entire life. I don't think I've ever said this story, but I think it applies here. Ever since I was in second grade, played football every single year. I loved it. It was my favorite sport, hands down. Played at Giant Stadium during halftime, all the cool stuff they get. And I was good. I was a pretty good football player. And then got to high school, and the pressure of both coming out of being on that team tour and panicking, getting ready to start high school, which I knew would bring anxiety, and football starting in August. It was all, like, overwhelming me. And basically, I haven't even thought of this in so long. Holy crap. So I had to stick with football until school started, just to get through the first 3 weeks, because I always hated football for the first 2 weeks, and then I loved it. And school starts, and I do a couple times, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's too much pressure. I mean, I'm starting high school, which is a huge thing on its own. Just got back from this teen tour where I ditched. And football, like, I can't do this. So I had to make a tough decision. I stopped playing football, which I'd loved since I was in second grade. Mm-hmm. And from there, I mean, it's always been rough in terms – that's probably right then was probably one of the lower points. And that's sort of when I was like, I need to fix this. I want to fight back. I had always been like, yeah, my dad was like, read this. And I'm like, Dad, I'm a freaking 13-year-old. I'm not reading any shit. He's like, you're going to read these mentoring books. You're going to do meditation. I'm like, what the hell is meditation? So that was sort of a low. Freshman year, it was decent. Once I got past the first 4 months, played tennis, made the tennis team freshman year. Played that since. That's become one of my favorite sports. But that was when I sort of got into that path. And now, I mean, it's gotten so much better. Went to amazing doctors that have helped me, an amazing support staff. My school has been incredibly helpful, guidance counselors, parents, everyone. And I definitely couldn't have gotten past it without them. And I wouldn't say I'm past it. I'm 100% not past it. I was just at a freaking counselor place, therapist person right before I got on here. So, I mean, I can't believe I just said that, but I just did. I was just at a therapist.
No, hey, there's something that I commend you. I mean, at a young age, because to be able to tell that story, there's someone out there that's watching this that you may have just impacted in a big way. Like, it's okay to be different. Like, and I'm a big proponent of complete transparency and authenticity. Like, dude, I got so much baggage in my life.
You know how good that feels to have just said that? Like, anyone out there, if you have a problem right now that you're trying to deal with, tell someone. I don't care. You're going to feel embarrassed for the first 10 minutes. You're going to feel like, oh, never mind. That's not real. I shouldn't have told you that. I feel those feelings all the time. Back when I was like 13, I was dealing with this. I was like, I'd tell someone something and I was like, never mind. I was just joking. No, tell the person. Be transparent, and they will help you, I promise. And if they don't, send me an email, jessek811@gmail.com, JESSEKAY811@gmail.com. I will get on a phone with you. I will help you. I've been through it, and we'll make it happen, I promise.
I've seen plenty of therapists, and, some good, some bad, and I'm okay being crazy. Like, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
My wife would tell you that I jokingly will say, I'm crazy and I know I'm crazy, but that's what makes me okay, because at least I know it's the ones that think that they're sane you got to worry about. Like, those are the crazy ones. Like, and when you harness your differences and learn how to use them to your advantage, that's when things really start to take off.
100%. I totally agree.
So
that's sort of that's the brief version of my story. I don't know I don't know what else, if anyone has any questions, but that's like the basis of my anxiety. Once again, feel free to message me on anything. But that's my basic background on anxiety, panic, that kind of stuff. And that's sort of like that rock bottom that led to where I am today. I think that built me up to be so much stronger than where I am today.
Because you don't seem like somebody that would suffer. I mean, like, you don't seem like you have anxiety. Like, you don't look any different.
I just came from a freaking therapist's office.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
You're not wearing like an A on your shirt that says, here's a big A.
I'm wearing Northern Highlands tennis. Go Northern Highlands. Yeah, I'm not wearing I don't even know what I'd wear. I'm not wearing like the suit. Like I was just in a therapist's office. Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. It's understanding who I am and a high level of self-awareness. And to learn that at a young age, I think is super, super powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
We have another question here. And this is from Nima Mohammadi. His 7-year-old daughter wants to start a YouTube channel for random talk. Is it a good idea? Now you're giving parenting advice. So let's
You're asking me for parenting advice. I trash my dad sometimes and my mom, and they're probably right. So I don't know if you trust me on this. But can you repeat the end of that question again?
So he says his daughter is 7 years old and she wants to start a YouTube channel, and he asked, is it a good idea?
Yeah, go for it. 100%. If they want it, then there's a reason they want it. I don't even care if it's something that it's stupid, whatever you think, let them do it, let them explore. I mean, if she's already 7 and she wants to do that, clearly she has bright things ahead. Let her go for it, help her out. And I'd love to help once again.
That's awesome. All right, Nima, there you go.
Boom. They're starting it.
And Nima, you can set up the YouTube channel. That way you have access to it. You can monitor it and, let her play around a little bit.
Why not? What's the worst that can happen?
So, Jesse, from that overcoming, not overcoming, it's like accepting, what did you do to try and I don't want to say solve the problem, because it's not something that's solvable, but walk me through the process. Okay, I know who I am. I know that this is part of me. Now, how do I use that to either propel myself forward? What does that process look like for you?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple parts to that. I think in terms of knowing that I have the actual anxiety, knowing that I have the ADD on that aspect of it, I think it just knows that, because sometimes I'll have the feeling like, why do I have this, right? It's like, why do I have ADD? But then once again, I realized that it's a superpower and I would not be where I am today without ADD. I wouldn't have the thoughts. I wouldn't be so excited to do this kind of stuff. And then I think in terms of overcoming, or not even overcoming, because it's not over.
Yeah, we don't get rid of it.
No, I don't even know if that would be great, because I've learned how to deal with it and it's made me stronger. I mean, that's everyone's goal, to just have no anxiety. I mean, that would be amazing, but it's not realistic. So I would say it's a combination of both understanding it, accepting it, and knowing how to deal with it. I think the coping mechanisms that I've learned from anxiety and panic, I can apply to anything in life.
Yeah.
So nobody else will learn those and deal with the struggle, because I may deal with something that's 10 times harder than something else and have to cope with it, and then everything else is 10 times easier, where somebody may have to cope with one thing and feels impossible, where I've done something 10 times harder, being 2,000 miles away from my family, sitting in a tent, freaking out alone, and I just had to cope with it for 10 days. I don't know who else has had that, but now everything else is just in perspective, it's so much lesser than anything else.
And at a young age, and Gary Vee talks about, he had a rant about how he thinks that that immigrants may actually have it easier than U.S. nationals, because they've seen how bad it can be, so it's only upside. And I think if you study, and you're a student of success in business, if you study those people, you'll see that almost all of them overcame some tremendous adversities, throughout their life.
Yeah, I can't think of one that hasn't.
And you need that. You need those bumps in the road to make you who you are.
And if you're not willing to talk about those bumps in the road, then you're crazy.
Yeah, because there's people out there that can help you.
Yep. And you can help somebody by saying that.
Eh,
Like, I may have said something that may have changed somebody's life right there, just being open about it.
Right. And that's kind of, we usually get this at the end, but that's when I decided, and actually it was Jeff's idea to launch a podcast, because to be honest with you, I didn't know what a podcast was, but it was basically to try and be just very, very real, very transparent. It's not going to be about, let's just bring up successful business people. It's just people sharing their story with the idea that if we get enough people together in a community, we all help each other out. So it's just being very, very transparent. And like I said, I think that's huge for you. I mean, I know it's been huge for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound cool to say that I'm nuts, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, believe me, it doesn't sound cool being in high school and being like, yeah, I have ADD, anxiety, and panic, but what the hell? What's better, to hold it in?
Well, I think some people are too afraid that others will judge them.
I was. And then I was like, screw it. I mean, that's what it came down to. It wasn't anything special, like an aha moment. It was just like, screw it. I don't give a shit what they say.
And that right there is what you need to be successful in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
You listen to what everybody else is going to say.
Oh, when I was starting this podcast, you don't know the amount of shit I got.
Really?
On a daily basis. What the hell are you doing, you young Mark Cuban? You think Gary Vaynerchuk's going to respond to you? And then I was like, yeah, look at this. Look at this right here. Yeah, that's Mark Cuban, bitch. That may be my best quote ever, so somebody better have recorded that. But that is hands down, I think, the best line of my life. And that will go down as the best line of my life right there.
I think it was something along of, like, look at this. That's Mark Cuban, bitch.
Yeah, it was something along the lines of that.
And there are so many people out there that say that they want whatever they define success, but they're not willing to send that email. They're not willing to make that call, send that text message.
And you don't know how many times I had to do that to get to that point. I sent 350 cold emails every day for 2 months. Once a day, every day for 2 straight months. I sent 350 cold emails a day to anyone I was interested in. Literally, I would go Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, Shep Murray or Shep from Vineyard Vines, the Forbes 30 under 30 list. And I was expecting nobody would respond. And then I was like, holy crap, people are responding. Like Mark Cuban, Jeff Bezos' assistant, Michael Dell's assistant. I was like, wait, what? Like, you just have to go out there and take the shot. What's the worst thing that happens? You get ignored or say no? Who cares? The average time it took for somebody to reply to a cold email was 4 emails. They were sort of at the point, I think, where they were like, this kid's going to keep bothering me forever if I don't respond, so I might as well.
And what you just said makes you very, like people want to, like I talk to people and they're like, okay, how do I make money? And I'm like, provide value to the marketplace. What you just said right there makes you very, very valuable to the marketplace because you're willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a way to look at it.
And that kind of gives you the right to earn lots of money because you're willing to do.
I'll happily take money. Anyone want to donate? We should get a donate button. My bank account's like 0. Let's make it happen.
And it's funny. You're 16 and you're worried about your bank account being 0. I know people that are 20 whose bank account's sitting at 0.
Yeah, I guess so. But I still need money. Come on, guys. I'll make a donation page.
So talk to me about Generation Z because I'm a little bit older than you. And for specifically, where are brands going wrong when they're trying? Because I know you spend a lot of time with Connor as well. Yeah. Where are brands going wrong when they're trying to appeal to that generation?
Yeah, so like you said, Connor Blakely, hands down the specialist on brands connecting with Generation Z. But the basics that he sort of rubbed off on me are, and through my own research and stuff that he sort of helped me with, is that we're the most unique and diverse generation for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're the only generation that grew up with technology. You could say millennials had technology, but they adapted to that. They weren't born with iPhones. Right. Now you look at a 2-year-old and they're sitting at a table with an iPad.
Yep.
So it wasn't something like, oh, here's an iPad, this is new, and you're 10 years old. Now you're at the point where you're born, it's ingrained in you from a little kid. So it's not like, oh, you can just take rid of it. It's literally like taking heroin away from a heroin addict if you take your phone away. It's a complete different generation in the fact that you need to understand that they're connected to technology. You can't just go for billboards at this point. It needs to be somehow connected to social media. I can't remember the last time I looked at a billboard unless it was like actually funny. So I think, like, I'm just thinking of what see, this is how you do a billboard right. It was some Kevin Hart and Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie, and it was like, all you need is a little Hart and a big Johnson. And it was amazing. That was from like 3 years ago. That is hands down. Whoever came up with that should be a billionaire. That's the only good billboard ad I could ever think of. But basically, you need to understand that, as Connor says, we're the only generation that can FaceTime our friends, text our mom, and order a pizza at the same time. I can repeat that because that could take a little bit of time for anyone who's above.
FaceTime your friends, text your mom, and order
pizza at the same time. Only generation that would ever grow up knowing how to do that. So you need to understand that they're multitasking like 10 places at once. And to get their attention, it's not the fact that everyone's ADD. That may be part of it, but you have to be, as Connor says, you have to be radical. You have to be extreme. You need to get their attention somehow. It has to be controversial. If you're not controversial, nobody's going to get attention. I mean, you can look at some of the most publicized things. Donald Trump, controversial. The Pepsi ad with Kendall or Kylie Jenner, whatever, controversial. Any of these things, it pulls attraction because it's controversial. You need to grab their attention, and you need to grab it quick. And if you can grab it quick, even bad PR. I mean, we're in a generation now where, like, bad publicity is the same as good publicity because you're just getting publicity and you're getting more clicks. I wouldn't say go for bad publicity, but it may not be the worst thing. Don't look at it as a terrible thing. Try and leverage it.
So, yeah, like the Cash Me Outside girl, and I forget her name, but
like a millionaire. She hangs out with Tai Lopez on like a weekly basis. I should have been that girl.
Well, that would be an interesting show, Jesse.
Oh, that would be really weird. I'd be cursing you out right now. I'd be beating up my mom or something. The cops would be here.
Dude, I hit her up on Instagram to try and actually get her on the show because I just wanted to like pick her, have fun with her. I forget her name. And her response, I wish I still had it. Her response was crazy. It was like
response?
Oh, it was an autoresponder. It was like her bot, like an autoresponder. But I didn't really even understand what she was saying. Like it was in a different.
I don't even know if she's competent in English. I don't know about that. Maybe her own language. I don't know.
But it just goes to prove you don't have to be competent in English to make a lot of money.
She's probably like a millionaire, and she's not competent in any language. I don't think.
So there are people in my generation and an older generation that would say our society's going to hell in a handbasket when you have people that can get on stage, disrespect their parents, and people pay them money.
Yeah.
But it goes to say, but like bad publicity is still publicity. And if you can, and when I was in high school, it was like everyone wanted to be the coolest kid. And we're literally back there again. Like if you're the coolest kid, if you have the most attention on you, you win.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, you win.
Yeah.
So
and what I would say about like when people say hey, we're going to hell because these kids can do anything, I would ask why. So they're going to say that just shows that they have power. Anybody can do that now. It's not just limited to them. Grandparents now use social media. Like anyone has that ability. I don't understand why it's just Gen Z or whatever that's being thrown under the bus.
I think that's a very, very valuable response there because you're exactly right. We all
any different.
We all can do it.
Yeah, they just don't have the balls to.
Wow.
Read Brandon Steiner's book. You got to have balls. He just gave it to me. It's an incredible book, and anybody older than Gen Z will then now have the balls to go out and do it.
So, do you ever get from? Because once again, I mean, I'm a parent. I have two 12-year-olds. So, and they're constantly on this. And
here, got it right in my hand.
Have you ever had the conversation of you need to like put that down? You need to communicate. You need to pay attention.
All the time.
What does that mean to you? Like when you hear that, like walk me through a 16-year-old, like what you're thinking Like, because I think you're thinking I am communicating.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two parts. When I think of like interactive, being physically with a person, I think this is something me and Connor have talked about a lot, but it's more valuable. I feel like people now want to meet in person, right? I'm sort of pivoting off of that, and I'll hit back to the phone thing. But compared to millennials or anyone older, meeting in person was the normal thing, and communicating over a phone is like a novelty. So that's like a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you flip it for Gen Z, we were born with this thing. We use this thing every day. This is the normal. Meeting in person, face to face, is a novelty. That's something you don't see every day. So when you get that opportunity, you go for it. And that is like, oh, that's a weird way of communication, but it's a cool way. You get like excited. So it's different. But I think in terms of the phone, you get to, with the phone, like when you're texting, my parents tell me all the time, what are you doing with your phone at dinner? What are you doing? Like, why are you texting? In the way. And my brother, same thing. Sister, same thing. But I think it comes down to, yes, it is communication, but if you're in a setting where you actually had that opportunity to be a one-on-one with somebody, I know if my parents are listening, they're probably like, he's saying this, but he never does that.
Well,
but
someone just said that you were always on your phone at school.
Oh, yeah. Macros. Yeah, he's just messing with me, but yeah, I do. I swear. Macros is a good friend of mine. So he's probably just trying to mess with me, but he's sort of right. Pretty much, he's always like, sign into life, kid. That's his keyword, sign into life. And I'm like, I am in life. I'm walking right now.
And texting.
I mean, I'm multitasking.
I'm walking and ordering a pizza.
Yeah.
And FaceTiming my mom.
Yeah, while doing homework. All at the same time.
So how do we through? Because I've heard the comments before that it's disrespectful. Like, like if I'm on my phone, it's like, okay, what I'm basically saying is that whoever I'm with isn't relevant. Do you agree with that? Or
I think it depends on the situation. I mean, if you're in a setting where you're there to talk with that person and you're one-on-one speaking with them, then I think, yes, it is. You shouldn't be on your phone. I mean, you're there to talk to the person. But if you're in like a casual setting, like hanging out with a bunch of people, I don't know why it's disrespectful. Like, it's the same as anything else. Like, if you take a phone call when you need to, is that disrespectful? I mean, it's another way of communication. I think, like I said, if it's an intimate thing or you're hanging with somebody and you're there to talk with them, then you shouldn't do it. But if it's a casual thing, I really don't see, as long as you're not stuck to your phone, I really don't see that big of an issue with it.
Where do you see advertising marketing going? Because, I mean, your generation's a pretty big generation, and you're right. You have there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of distraction. You don't want to be marketed to because it takes up your, like, I'm just curious, do you actually make many phone calls, or is it predominantly text or
I love
FaceTime? Okay.
I love phone calls just because, and FaceTime, because it's rare. Like I said, same thing with meeting in person. It's rare. I jump at the opportunity. It's usually text. Yeah, I personally like phone calls. Like if somebody's messaging me, I'm like, can you just hop on a call instead? It's just my ADD goes off and I'm waiting for that ... to turn into a message. I'm like, shoot me. I cannot wait for that. Like that ... literally my OCD is like, I can't look at this anymore. And that way if I'm on the phone, I can like hear the person and wait for that awkward silence until they talk. It's not a ... kind of thing. But I think the way you have to target it is, what's the number one place teenagers use? I mean, you have a 12-year-old. Where's the place that what do they use on their phone the most? What's the number one thing they go on their phone?
So my daughter is big on Musical.ly. And loves it. And my son is, I think, on Twitch a lot. I think it's called Twitch. It's something that gamers use to communicate with each other.
All those are social media. It's different niches of social media, but it's still social media. You look at Twitter, Instagram. I mean, if anyone, teenagers are there, you go to settings or anyone in general, it's interesting to see. Somebody just told me about this. If you go to settings in your phone and you hit, I'm looking for it right now. It's something like general. Oh no, it's like your battery. If you look at your battery, and then this comes up, battery usage, or when it loads, it'll come up, stupid Wi-Fi. Okay, battery. I don't know if you can see that,
Yep.
but that's the top 3 things that I've used that have wasted all my battery. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. 26% of my phone's battery was spent on Snapchat.
Wow.
25% Snapchat, 16% Instagram, 13% Facebook, 9% phone, 6% Twitter. And then the rest are filled by Safari, home lock screen, Messenger, messages, Gmail.
Wow.
So it's not game. It's social media, phone calls, email. I mean, probably not email for most teenagers. I mean, it's just because I'm responding. But the top 7 out of 10 things are social media. You need to target social media, and you have to do it the right way. Is what I always like to say. Like, just because you say, "Oh, I'm running a Facebook ad," that doesn't mean anything. You have to know how to do it correctly. You need to know how to target. You need to, like, for $10, we were saying this before. For $10, you could reach 20,000 people that are targeted. I mean, you can literally target whoever you want. But I think the number one thing you want to do on social media is video content. I think that's key. I know it, like, all teenagers, I think, can agree. Like, we don't want to see any more text or messages. We don't want to see pictures. Like, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a video's worth 1,000,000 words. So why not watch a video and you can catch somebody's attention immediately? If they can click on it and within 3 seconds it's catching their eye, then they'll watch the end. I think that's the number one way people can connect with our generation.
Do those videos have to be very, very short?
I would say it depends on the thing. If it's just a short branding thing, yeah, it could be no longer than 10, 20 seconds. But for example, Connor Blakely, he did something with Sprint for their like Live Unlimited campaign. It was like the unlimited data. So they did a Live Unlimited thing. They had Jake Paul or Logan Paul. I think it was Jake Paul. And this was the craziest idea. He came up with it. Props to Connor. But they took a trampoline. They hung it from a helicopter. They had Jake Paul go on it over the ocean, and he jumped on a trampoline over like 100 feet up over the ocean, hanging from a helicopter. And that was like a 12-minute video, but that caught somebody's eye. It was from that's another thing I'd say. Use influencers. If they already have following towards your target, why not use them? So he did that. He had an influencer. He had extreme content right there. I mean, jumping on a trampoline, hanging from a helicopter. I mean, who's not going to watch that? They had great camera work, and it got 13 million views or something like that. So, here it is right there. Helicopter shot 3 million views, but it had over 1 billion interactions.
Whoa.
He literally it shows the whole thing. If you go to the end, it's literally him jumping off the trampoline into the water. And that right there got 3 million YouTube. I think it was something 100 million or 1 billion total interactions, unique interactions. It was crazy. So there, it's 8-minute video, but it catches your eye. You're not going to leave watching you're sort of weird if you're leaving watching somebody jump off a trampoline. That's pretty sick.
It catches my eye.
Exactly. And if it, like, you get to see everything, look at this. This is one of the best ad campaigns I've ever seen. And this is all Connor Blakely. Connor's literally the best at this. But look, they had great camera shots. They had awesome idea, awesome everything. And at the end, he literally jumps off the trampoline. So, like, if you know how to target like that, they use influencers, they use video content, and they use extreme stuff. I mean, that's the 3 key things. And look at that impact they had.
Now, some people would say, what does jumping off a trampoline, hanging from a helicopter, jumping to the ocean have to do with Sprint?
Living unlimited, but it doesn't have to.
I think
not at all.
That is what you just said. I think is, like, you can create a video about anything, and then at the end, just tie it in.
YouTube, Sprint, Live Unlimited, Sprint Unlimited. That's all he said. Boom.
Wow.
That's all you have to do.
All right, we have another question here. All right. You mentioned a lot about multitasking.
Yeah.
And if you're multitasking, doing those 3 things, can you truthfully do that and really do any one of them very well?
See, it's simple because it's straightforward. But if it's something like doing your homework and watching TV, not really. I mean, you can try. I mean, some people are good at multitasking. Like I can send emails and watch TV at the same time just because it's easy. It depends on the person, I'd say. I think some people are better at multitasking, but I think it depends on what you're trying to multitask as well. So, I mean, I think it depends person to person.
I think what you were saying is there are simple tasks that we can do. And to order a pizza, you hit a button. I mean, they've already saved my favorites. I mean, but if you were writing an essay and trying to watch, I don't even know if 16-year-olds watch TV, to tell you the truth, Jesse. Do you watch TV?
I watch, like, it's weird because I'll watch like Sports Center, you know, sports, that kind of stuff. But then also Netflix is something that a ton of teenagers watch because you can, like, we don't like to wait. If you have to wait to watch, like, if you have to wait a week to watch the next part of an episode, that makes me go crazy. So Netflix, you can binge watch. That's why everyone uses it. You can watch like 10 episodes in a day. Like, why would you wait a week if you can watch 10 in a day? That's just a waste of time. Because then you're thinking about it for like days. What's going to happen next? Like, you're wasting time where you could think about stuff, thinking about that, where Netflix, you can literally watch episode after episode after episode. And I think that's a key. So yes, I watch TV, but I think the key part's about convenience, how convenient it is.
And I think that's exactly what you're saying is in your generation, you have convenience everything is about convenience and it's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Now, some people, they've said this about the millennial generation, that they're lazy, they don't know how to work. And I think that they're just misunderstood. I don't think that you're not a lazy person. I mean, you go to school full time, you run a podcast, you're going to New York for networking events. Like, it's not lazy. There's a difference between I want to get the most out of every hour of my day and not waste time versus being lazy.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm curious as to, and once again, I know I'm asking a lot of questions about marketing to Generation Z.
No, I think it's a key topic. I mean, it's super important because if brands don't figure out how to connect with Generation Z now, then they're going to be screwed in 20, 30 years.
Right. And what are your thoughts on, do you believe that big brands are even a thing 20 years? Like Nike, let's just use Nike or Under Armour, because the cool thing about today is everyone has a platform now. Like, I could create a pair of shoes, and if it's marketed correctly, I can become a shoe company.
Yeah.
I can compete with Nike now. And I don't know anything about shoes, by the way, but you understand what I'm saying. You don't need the power. We're seeing it in music. You don't need a record label anymore.
No, like, it's a Chance the Rapper.
He's actually playing. Yeah, he's actually playing Baltimore tonight. We were actually in Baltimore shooting some videos, and
having me come down to Baltimore. I'm coming with you.
He's playing like right now, dude. Like, you'd have to fly down.
I will fly on the fastest private jet they have, and I still won't make it. But it'll be a fun experience. But yeah, so what I would say is, yes, you can create a Nike. You could try and create a shoe brand, but you may have great marketing, but you don't have brand awareness. I think that's a key thing. People are going to trust that reputable person that's been there forever, that has all of the athletes, because you may create a sneaker brand and you may have great marketing, but who says you'll get LeBron James on board? It's all about having influencers as well. I mean, if you have LeBron, Kyrie Irving, Michael Jordan, I mean, you're screwed if you're going against them. I think in music, it's a different thing because it's individual usually. And the only thing the record label really does is promote you. But now with everything like YouTube, SoundCloud, all of that, you can do it on your own. I think for something where it's a brand, kind of like clothing, shoes, something that's been set in stone and it's not revolving really. Like Nike's been around for, I don't know, 50 years or whatever. Like, and they locked up that market. So I think the key thing now, what Connor works with brands on, is branding. If you can brand, then in 20 years, people still know who you are. So I think there will still be big brands. I think some new ones may emerge, but I think that it's not just going to be 100 different small brands. I think there's still obviously going to be a big majority of companies that control their market.
Because they'll have the influencers on. So there will be some people watching this, Jesse, that don't understand what that means, an influencer. Can you explain that
Yeah.
what that means to some
So an
people.
influencer basically means it could be as niche down or as broad as you want. So let's say you're in, I don't know, you're into cars. There's a car influencer. So it's somebody that is seen as an expert in their brand, in their area of expertise, so-called. And they either have social media, they have Tumblr, they have whatever. They have some sort of base to connect with millions of people. And they can leverage that to either send a message, promote a product, do whatever. So for example, you think somebody just like a Jake Paul or Logan Paul, they're YouTubers. They've like combined 12 million subscribers. So they can promote to 12 million unique people. And they have influence over those people because these people may watch them every single day. So if they tell them to go do something, odds are you'll get a much better conversion rate if they tell you to do something than if just a Facebook ad tells those people to do the same thing. But it can also be as small as niche down as you are. Like, for example, last night I interviewed Jason Wong. He created, I don't even know if anyone in here has heard it, and you're probably going to laugh when you hear it, but he's killing it. He created something called the Meme Bible. It's literally
Bible?
the Meme Bible. He has meme developers that find memes, and he has like 2 million followers on Tumblr. So he pushed the Meme Bible out, and he sold $250,000 in the first month.
Hold on. He like
He created a book with like memes in it, and he was an influencer from just like pushing out content, and just because he had that platform, he pushed out this thing called the Meme Bible. It's basically a book full of like memes, and he hadn't produced anything yet. There was nothing. It was just it was a Photoshop image that was up, and a Photoshop image made him $250,000 in a month. And right now he's coming out with the Meme Bible Part 2, a meme cookbook. It's a real cookbook that's made with memes. So he's killing it, and who knows what kind of press it would have gotten, but since he was an influencer, 2 million people on Tumblr, he pushed it out, and look how that converted.
So clearly you believe, and I think as do I, but just for anyone else that's out there, like television commercials are gone. Like that's just a waste of money unless they're really, really cool somehow.
If it's a Super Bowl ad, I think that may be one of the best ways to market. I think it's actually, it seems very expensive, like $5 million or whatever for a 30-second spot. I think that's undervalued. I think that you're connecting with over 1 billion people, and people are there to watch the ads. They're not ignoring that. I think that's like those main events, like a Super Bowl, New Year's Eve, college championship, any big game where people are watching. I think that's a chance where you can use TV ads. But besides that, pretty much, I think it's all social media, YouTube, individual work.
And do you believe that influencer marketing is going to dominate the marketing space to your generation? Let's say to your generation.
Yeah, I do, 100%. I think just because of the impact they've already had, I don't see why they wouldn't.
So is there,
like, you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Gary Vaynerchuk has, I don't know, like 5 million people watching him. He says something and boom, it's like God just said something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of guilty of that. Like literally if he says something, I'm like, holy crap, Gary said it, so it's gotta be true. But I mean, you look at that and he is totally like, he's such a big influencer. I mean, you can find any video. It could be the stupidest video ever. And somebody like a Gary says it, somebody like a Logan or Jake Paul says it, and boom, you're right there. I mean, he connects with thousands or millions of people just from pushing that content out and has a huge impact on them.
Hey, Jesse, Jeff's pulling up a Gary V video that he said is perfect for what.
Oh, I love this video. This is a perfect video.
I think that about sums up what you've just said.
Boom. Gary Vaynerchuk, dude's killing it. So excited to meet him. I know he's been insanely busy. Dude flies like literally I think like we said before, I think he spends more time in the air than he does on land. He went from like London to Tennessee to California to Ghana. Like what?
Yeah. In like 48 hours. Like he'll just live
like,
one of the.
Yeah, I don't even think he stepped foot in any of those countries.
What platforms are you using right now? Actually, you just pulled them up. So, question for you. I'm on Snapchat. You use Snapchat and Instagram about the same. Is one going to win, or will there always be? There's a place for Snapchat and there's a place for Instagram.
This is a huge debate. It's interesting because you sort of look at it from two different perspectives, right? So you got Snapchat, which has always been that key sort of place where people have wanted to share stories and disappearing photos, stories, all that kind of stuff. But now Instagram, with one ad update, they've eradicated that market. I mean, now they have the same kind of thing, and then you don't have to leave the Instagram platform. Like, why would you leave Instagram for Snapchat when you can do the same thing on Instagram? And a lot of my friends have started to move over to Instagram. I think Snapchat still is doing decent, but I mean, Instagram now has 200 million active users on their stories. Snapchat has 160 million. Like, Instagram already passed Snapchat.
So I should short Snapchat stock.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to take investment advice from a 16-year-old, but
yeah, don't take advice from me. I think we played the stock market game once in like in 10th grade, and I lost like 15 grand. So I don't think you want to fuck me. We were giving like 100 grand of fake money in the real stock market or whatever. Pretty sure I lost like 15 grand. I don't know if you can trust me, but if you want to, if anyone's listening, short Snapchat, buy Instagram or Facebook, whoever owns them.
But I think, but what you said is very, very valid. Like if you pay, and this is what Gary talks about, pay attention to what people of your generation are doing and try and understand what they're doing instead of judging them.
Yeah. I agree. Totally agree. I think it's all about knowing where, like, you got to follow the trends. I think that's a key thing. You got to see where people are going, because if you don't, then you're sort of going to be like, you have to see if people are trending one way, you got to adapt quick. If you don't adapt quick, you're already too many years late. I think you have to adapt the second you see an impact or something different. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to go jump at that opportunity.
Well, and I, once again, Jesse, I got to ask this question. There on social media, there is so much, and Gary talks a lot about this, bull crap. Does your generation pay attention? Like, you know, the guy that rents a freaking Lamborghini for a day and flashes cash, and I'm selling my coaching product of how to get rich quick, blah, blah, blah. Does your generation actually buy that? Like, does that actually work?
I think it depends on the market. I think based on the age group you go to, I mean, there may be some 14-year-olds that go for that, but I think it really depends. I think one way you could look at it as if one of my buddies, Caleb Maddox, he's been an awesome kid. He's 15. Yeah, I think he's come to New York City. He's 15. He's written 6 or 7 books. I think he's written 7 books. He's 15, has like 150,000 followers. But one example is like, he wasn't selling anything here, right? He wasn't trying to sell like a coaching platform at first. Now he has an awesome business. He's hitting like $1 million or whatever. And he basically, I think one video which we may be able to pull up, he basically talks about he went to a friend's house or whatever, and he saw that he was getting paid for chores. And he basically capitalized on the whole idea of that people had been talking at that time about chores, right? And how you should get paid for chores. Mm-hmm. So he talked about that video, and he talked about why his dad didn't pay him for chores. And that video got watched 13 million times.
Hey, Jeff, pull up that video. I know it. Here it goes. And this is an awesome video.
I've talked to Caleb so many times about this. It's got in like 20 million interactions.
I hope my kids are watching.
hungriest to learn will always be fed.
Dude, that's such an amazing video.
Yeah, hands down, the best part of that is when he goes, my dad told me I'd be a trash man if I got paid to take out the trash. Best line. And if you guys don't believe that we're addicted to social media, as that video was up, I sent Caleb a Snapchat saying, yo, we're giving you a shout out right now. But Caleb's an awesome kid. I mean, I'm super excited to meet him and Matt, his dad, in a couple weeks. But yeah, Caleb's incredible. I mean, he did that one video, and like we were saying, he wasn't even trying to make money off it. He was just trying to send a message, right? It's all about sending the message with that storyline. And when he did that, he went and got, I think it was 12 million views on Facebook, something like 100,000 shares, another 10 million on YouTube. I mean, that video went viral, and that led to good business for him. But it's not about, you don't want to play it like, here, buy my course right here. It's the story and the video, and then it leads you down the path, down the line.
Yeah, Gary talks about it. One piece of content can change your life. And
100%.
There you go. That's a perfect example of it. So I'm curious, where do you go next? Like, you're 16 years old, and you're becoming very, very well connected. So you understand the networking part. Like, are you going to college? Like, what do you plan on doing next?
Yeah, it's funny because right now I'm a junior in high school. Right now it's just been awesome. Like I said before, I never would have imagined I'd be able to build up this network and actually get interviewed. It was so weird the first time I got interviewed. I was like, what the hell? Like, literally, I'm grabbing this right here. I haven't used interview questions since my first ever interview, but I keep them here just to remind me. I wrote down 4 pages of questions for my interview with Connor Blakely. I've never used interview questions since. But yeah, I mean, becoming that connected, being able to, be in VaynerMedia, all that stuff I would have never imagined. But it's funny because somebody like Connor, he dropped out of high school and finished online or whatever. Some of these other people, they're taking off from college or they're dropping out of college. I think the way to look at that is, I know my parents have a pretty strong bias towards pro college, which I totally get. But all these people I've hung out with, I think college is super important if you want to become a doctor, engineer, something like that, where you need to go to college. Entrepreneurship, I don't know. But I think it's a great way to network. I think it's a great way to mature. And I think for right now, plan still go to college. I think the only way that it would be in the right place to turn it down, I think this is where it is a situation where you turn down, is number one, you're running a successful business and you going to college would pretty much end the business. Like, you're growing and you have the opportunity to keep growing, and it will completely turn it off because you just don't have time. And I think the other one is you're given that $1 billion chance. I mean, you're given, here's an incredible product. I mean, I was talking with Corey Levy, who he created the After School app, which is like an anonymous social networking app for high schoolers. And he went to University of Illinois and he finished his freshman year, and then he got offers for VC, and he's raised like $20 million in VC without even asking for money.
Wow.
So if you're given that opportunity where like you have a $1 billion idea, or you can take it as far as you can, and you are set up for that, you can always go back to school. You can't always go back on a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I love that. I think you laid that out very, very, and as a parent, I think you laid that out very, very, very clearly. Like, if you don't have something better, then yeah, I mean, get a job or go to college. But if you have an opportunity, sometimes like I said, the opportunity doesn't last. Opportunities sometimes show up once, and you either take it or you don't take it. How do people reach out? Like, where do you go next? Like, with your podcast, like, what's your next step?
So where I'm at right now, like, I've been able to interview incredible people. I've been able to connect with all these amazing people. But what I want to do is, number one, I want to continue to build my network. As great as it is now, it could still be 10 times better. Mm-hmm. So I'm not satisfied with my network. I mean, it's incredible, the people I've been able to meet, but I want to keep doing that, keep giving value whenever I can. But I think what I can do is I want to build up my following and build up my social media where I'm sort of trusted as a person for Gen Z, a person for, thought leaders, etc. I want to try and build up social media, etc., and get high profile people on the show, get a decent amount of listeners and followers just so I can help impact a ton of people. And I think once I get it big enough, I can try and monetize through different ways. I mean, I'm sure you can monetize through sponsorships, affiliate deals, make your own product and lead it that way. I mean, there's many different pathways I can go, but I think long term, I definitely want to be an entrepreneur. And I think the good thing about doing this now is the network I've been able to build. I pretty much know somebody from every industry who's a power player, who I've given them value, or we've become friends that I know they'd be willing to help me, and I always am there to help them. So being able to have those relationships and friendships will help down the line, because when I try to become an entrepreneur with a certain business, I'll have somebody right there who can help me.
I think that's brilliant. And this is almost like a crazy question, but what advice would you give to your kids? I know that sounds like a crazy question, but from the people you've met, from the things that you've seen, from conferences, what would you tell your kids when they're, 7, 10 years old?
Yeah. I would say you want to start early, but you don't want to push your kids. You don't want to say, I want you to do this, because if you force them to do something they don't want to, that's going to ruin that thing for the rest of their life. I think you let them take their path, but whatever they're passionate about, don't hold them back. Like, if they want to, like that person who said that their kid wanted to start a YouTube channel, that's incredible. If they have that kind of drive at 7 years old, they're going to be a rock star. So go let them do their thing, push them and help them progress, but you don't want to, overcommit yourself as a 7-year-old. I mean, that's sort of a weird thing to say, but like, you don't want to, you're still 7. You're there to, like, I don't know, play with Barbie dolls and stuff. Like, you don't want to ruin your childhood. But I think I would say enjoy your time as a kid, and just like start early. I mean, this is something I love to say. Start your thing, because what happens? The worst thing that happens is that you fail, right? And even if you fail, great, that's a learning experience. I think that's something that's wrong with the school system. Failure is looked at as the worst thing, when in business and in life, it's learned as a building experience, basically. And also the fact that if you fail, you still have a roof over your head, you still have a family, still have people that love you, you still have food. You're a teenager or something. What's the worst that can happen? You lose $100 in 6 months of your time. It's a great learning lesson. Why not go for it?
I love that. I think that's very, very valuable. And I think the part about failure, you're exactly right. We don't let people fail enough. And it is actually through failure that you achieve success.
Yeah. And it's looked at terribly in the school system. Like, oh my God, you failed that? Like, that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
But in business, it's like, oh, you failed. It's not, you don't try and fail. I mean, if you do, then you're sort of screwed up. Like, you're not like, oh, I'm going to go fail today. Let's make it happen. Right. But like, if you fail, so what? That's a great lesson. I think that you get to take what you learn from it, know what doesn't work, know what works, and know a good business model, know good strategy, and know where to go from there. I mean, it's just another experience you can put in the book.
I love that. Hey, Jesse, I have 2 more questions for you, and then we're going to bounce.
Let's roll.
Question number 1. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? Actually, this is 2 questions. A, who's the greatest basketball player of all time, and who's going to win the championship? So that's a 2-part question. Let's start with that one.
Okay. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? I'm a little biased because I was actually asked this earlier. It's weird. But I wasn't alive. I think it was your Facebook post. Who do you think is the best basketball team all time? And I said the Warriors, if they sweep, because they'll go undefeated. I think they will win. I think they will sweep, actually. And the reason I say that is, number one, I'm biased because I didn't live through the Jordan years. I never saw him play. So, I mean, that's sort of a pretty big bias against him. But, I mean, Jordan must have been incredible just from what I've seen. So I would still say Jordan's the best of all time.
Wow, that's surprising that you would say that. I mean, that's
because, I mean, you look at somebody like LeBron. I think even Kobe may be higher than LeBron.
Wow.
Just because if you look at the statistical stuff, you look at the teammates that LeBron's been surrounded with combined with Kobe. Yeah, Kobe had like Shaq for a year. But if you look at LeBron, he's constantly been surrounded by either Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. I mean, I was at Next Gen. Tobias Harris, who is a power forward or center for the Detroit Pistons, was there. And people asked him this question: who's the hardest player to defend? And he said, one-on-one, Carmelo Anthony. He has the best moves. And And he said, as a team, LeBron, because he can drive. And then he has Kyle Korver for 3. He has Kyrie Irving. He has Kevin Love. I mean, his entire team is stacked. So I think he's been able to surround himself with an incredible team. So I don't know. I think the top 3 still are definitely Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. I don't know what order.
What about Durant? You know, Paul Pierce said
Durant's incredible. And I don't think Durant gets enough credit. But because he's sort of now like, I won't call him a role player, but like he's one of 3 incredible players now on the Warriors. He's not, because that's the difference. Like LeBron is a star and Kevin Durant is a star. But even though LeBron surrounds himself with incredible people, he still takes a majority of the points and stuff. For Kevin Durant, he's sharing it with Steph Curry, all of those people. So I think that Kevin Durant is definitely, if he continues his path, he will go down as one of the greats for sure. I think he's already at that point. But I think there's still a lot of years left in his career. And I think I think a lot of it depends on what happens this year. I think that could either help LeBron's legacy 100%, or it can push Kevin Durant, Steph. I mean, that Warriors seem to be one of the best of all time.
So I'll give you just my opinion, and I'm biased towards Jordan because I remember him playing. But if somehow LeBron and if they can pull this out this year, I'll switch. I will give it to LeBron.
I think if they can pull it out, that would be ridiculous.
I don't think there's any chance in hell. Like I
100%. I think they'll get swept. But if they do it, that's ridiculous. 2 straight years coming back.
I gave a guy in my office 5-1 odds. He bet me $100. So it's 5-1. So because he still thinks that Cleveland's going to come back and win. So
he just lost $100. That was a stupid bet.
Yeah, you hear that, chat? Dumb bet, buddy.
Yeah, get ready to hand over $100.
Yeah, but you know what happened? In the Super Bowl, I bet him on the Super Bowl, and I was talking so much shit. I actually went to bed in the third quarter, and all my text messages said, "Cash me outside, bitch! Cash me outside!" And I woke up.
Left the Super Bowl party at halftime. We left.
I woke up the next morning, and I was like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah, we literally left the Super Bowl party, and then it was like 20 minutes later. I'm like, whatever. I'll just look how much you're killing them by, and I'm like, holy shit! I was like, that can't actually have just happened.
Yeah, and then I said, okay, I'll give it to Brady. He's the greatest because I wasn't a Brady fan, but
didn't like Brady, but he's hands down the best.
Yeah, I'll give it to him now.
Yeah.
All right, this last question, and this one, once again, you're 16, but you know, this podcast and this has just been through my life, and make money, lose money, start businesses, have businesses fail. And through that process, what I've come to find is that I wasn't seeking there's never enough money. There's always more money. So, but what I was really seeking was something called fulfillment. Like, what does it mean for me to be truly fulfilled? And that can mean different things for different people. But I believe that we're all on that journey, a journey towards fulfillment. What does that word mean to you, the word fulfillment? Like, what is that?
Because you don't know how many miserable billionaires there are and how many happy janitors there are. Like, you can find a fast food or a gas station attendant that's 100 times happier than a billionaire.
Yep.
They live their life happily. They have everything they want. And I think fulfillment depends on what your values are. If you want to spend time with your family, if your key thing is your family, you can't be at work all day and all night because you're not going to be able to spend time with them. I mean, if you're there from 3 a.m., some of these people are there from 3 a.m. to midnight. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, obviously at some point, there's going to be costs where you have to do that, of course, but you prioritize your family stuff. You'll make sure to go to your kids' events. You'll make sure to do all this. I think in terms of if your thing is just to find happiness in something you do, you take a pay cut and you go for something you really enjoy than something that pays better. I think it all depends on what your priorities and values are and making sure you put those first.
So what does that look like for you out of curiosity?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, because it's going to change. I mean, and that's That's why I call
my
it.
priorities 2 months ago or 6 months ago were different than they are now. 6 months ago was like good grades junior year for college. Now it's like I want to go connect with Mark Cuban. A little bit of a change, but it's like I think it's all based off of I want to continue to network. I think that's the coolest thing for me. I've got just from having a podcast, been able to meet all these incredible people. I mean, I want to keep all of my relationships with my friends and family. That's my first thing, number one. Family and friends, hands down, number one thing. Followed by that is the podcast and school. I mean, that's sort of where I'm at now. And it's hard to balance because I've worked so hard to keep my grades so good. But then this comes, and this is like a crazy opportunity. So my grades have had a small drop-off. I mean, not a big drop-off. Maybe from like an A- to a B+, like not a big drop-off, but it's still a drop-off. But I think it's, as Stacey Ferreira says, I still love this quote, it's do work that is worth unbalancing your life for. So if you go, I decided to do this, and guess what? It freaking unbalanced my life. I haven't spent time with my friends in like months. I see school and I do it occasionally, but I used to hang out every weekend with them. I just can't. If you're not willing to go and sacrifice and give stuff away and give away that kind of night or give away that kind of thing just for the opportunity to go do a meeting, you don't know how many times I've had to say no to my friends or say no to things I really wanted to do because I had an interview Friday night at 7 o'clock. It's the sacrifice, but if you want it that bad, you'll do it. If you're not willing to do it, then you don't want it that bad.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. Hey, Jesse, this has been like, so entertaining. Like I just love the perspective, and you might be 16, but you're wise beyond your years. So keep it up, man. And
thank you.
We're going to have you back because it's going to be amazing to watch your journey. Gary Vee talks about, document like the journey, not, I don't want to know when you've arrived. I want to see what you're going through. So I want to have you back like in a couple months and just say, okay, where are things now? Because
I know you guys are packed. We got to already get that on the schedule. You guys are going to be like a year booked out.
No, we always have time for you. Because until we find somebody younger. If we find a 12-year-old
younger, I'm going to make sure I never connect you to any successful young people because they'll take the spot.
Jesse, you are awesome, bud. Thank you so much for your time. And,
thank you, guys. It's been awesome.
Oh, how can people find you? Like what do you, we have 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds that are watching this. What are you looking for in guests? And how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So number one, in terms of guests, looking for people that have either they're in their 20s or below, usually, unless it's somebody like if you get an offer from like Gary Vaynerchuk, you're not going to say no, you're not 20.
Right.
I just did an episode with Brandon Steiner because he's like a mentor, so you can do something like that. But most of them are 29 or under. Anyone who's taken initiative, gone and created a podcast, gone and created a business, gone and created anything where they've been relatively successful. I mean, some of the people I've had on have been on Shark Tank, have done millions in sales at like 18 years old. It's the craziest thing. So if you've gone out, taken initiative, have become a thought leader, have become an influencer, have become an entrepreneur, just send me a message. We'll see if it's a fit. If it's not, I'll still help. We could become friends, whatever, and we'll do it further down the line. And in terms of reaching out to me, like I said, I love hearing messages, regardless of if it's you need help. I love getting comments after I do an interview. I get those pretty frequently, like learned this from this. Just keep me updated. I want to hear what you learned, what I could have done better, if you had any comments, what you enjoyed, any questions, how I can help you. I mean, I'd love to get on a phone call with anyone. In the 5 minutes of freedom I have in my day, I will find time to get on a phone call with you. I definitely want to connect with anyone, be of help, whether it's related to mental health and anxiety, business, initiative, whatever. You can find me on Instagram at Jesse.Kay11. Facebook, you can find me Jesse K. Twitter, it's something like that. And 20under20s.com. We had it before, www.20under20s.com. You can find all the episodes on there. And send me an email, jessekay811@gmail.com. I respond to all of my emails, so just send me an email and we'll work something out.
Hey, Jesse, is it cool if in the comments in this thread we put all your social handles and your email and stuff?
Drop it all. Yeah, put it all in there.
All right, we'll do that, bud.
You guys can find it right there.
You're awesome. I'm gonna connect my 12-year-old son with you and be like, hey, talk to this guy. Like,
we'll make it happen. We'll video it.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
You'll post it. We'll save it.
My son would love that. And daughter. My daughter would love it too.
We'll do it together.
We're going to do that.
You're bringing them next time you come up to New York. We're going to do a phone call, and then we're going to do an in-person.
Dude, that sounds dope.
Yeah, barbecue.
I love that idea.
Yeah, my dad, you, everyone. It will be inspirational for the world. We'll go on every live.
How old is your dad, by the way?
47, 48.
Oh, he's older than me. Yes. Like, I'm younger than your dad still.
That's good, isn't that?
Yeah, dude.
But I'm 4 years older than your oldest kids.
Yes, you are. Yes.
So in 4 years, how old are you going to be?
I will be older than your dad.
So
I'll be 49.
Oh, maybe he's 49. I don't know. That's a guess.
I'll be 50.
He was born in 69, if that helps.
I'll be 50 years old and wearing Tupac shirts still.
Oh, 100%. I used to call it, by the way, I used to call him Tupac until like 2 years ago. I had no idea who it was. That's completely true. I had no idea who that was. Literally had no idea. Just tried to spell it out. Still don't really know who he is, besides he was some sort of rapper.
Are you kidding me? You don't know who Tupac is?
I mean, I know who he is, but like that's the extent.
Do you know who this is?
I'm assuming that's him.
No.
Damn it, then I'm wrong.
Holy crap. He doesn't know who. It was a guy by the name of Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls. He was like the other side. He was the East Coast.
Literally never heard of him in my life. Ever.
Alrighty then. So much for thinking I had a cool shirt on.
Yeah, you got to change that. I'm like a Gary Vaynerchuk shirt.
Dude, this has been so much fun.
I know. We're doing this again in person, and Instagram and Facebook Live will follow us there.
Anytime, dude. Anytime. Dude,
Anytime.
Have a great evening, and we will definitely stay in touch, Jesse.
100%. Got to go write an English essay. High school grind.
Yo, kill it, bud.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.